there's two parts to it. And I'm using these terms very carefully because it's common terms, although I feel on a spiritual level, it actually is a bit too harsh. We might have either been victims of jealousy or competition, or unknowingly, maybe we are perpetrators of of jealousy and competition. And the reason why I say these terms are so harsh on a spiritual level is that spirituality is all about transformation. The heaviness that is associated with the concept of being a victim need not be. And the darkness that's associated with the concept of perpetrator also need not be. So that's what we're here to go through together so that we can really sort of find light, through this aspect. And I think the most important part for me, just personally reflecting, also having witnessed and observed in my own experiences and learning a lot from the advanced classes of the Brahma Kumaris, is that the first step is to actually discern that this is actually a trace or a smudge of jealousy and competition that is surfacing. Because I don't necessarily think that either if I am jealous of someone or I am in a competitive mode, wanting to actually sort of, surpass somebody, or if somebody is jealous towards me and I'm experiencing some sort of negative energy from them, I don't think necessarily that it is stated, and even on a conscious level, there's the thoughts, I want what you have, or I'm not going to hear it in that way from someone else that I want what you have. So that's where the discernment comes in, and it requires a very refined intellect. And all of the stuff we've been doing through this entire series really are different ways, methods of refining the intellect. And when I am deeply connected to my core inner space, and also, maintaining my connection with that higher being, that divine source, there is a level of enlightenment. And there is a level of clarity in the intellect, so that it would be easier for me to actually discern that this is actually jealousy surfacing, this is competition surfacing. So taking the first aspect, if for any reason I am jealous towards somebody, like I said, consciously I might not be thinking that, I want what you have. Usually it's a deep feeling internally of injustice. This question, well, how did it come to pass that, this person doesn't really deserve that type of attitude? It's unfair, that type of feeling. And there might be like a sorrow associated with that, why is it that it's always a struggle for me? Why is it that it's always hard for me? This person is, in comparison to me, less in this way, less in this way, less in that way. And it's so unfair, those type of things. I'm sort of just quoting an inner dialogue, but it might be obviously unique to each of us as individuals. And the more subtle thing is for me to be able to discern when jealousy is coming towards me or competition is coming towards me. And I really feel deep in my heart that this is something quite essential to work out, because I might mean well. I might really, very sincerely want to succeed, and I might be investing my time, my effort, my energy, even my wealth to some degree in creating the type of circumstances in which I can enjoy a better quality of life. And a lot of that definitely includes work, effort. And Maybe others don't know the full story of my sincerity, my hard effort, my sacrifice. But what they actually see is the attainment. And of course, maybe there's the desire to enjoy a similar attainment. And even on their part, it might not come across as them confronting me and saying, like, how is it that you have this and how did it come about? People are too sort of diplomatic to do that. They might speak amongst each other, but they might not come up to me. But what actually happens is that there's opposition towards me. And there's subtle forms of sabotage, and this is my make or break. And this is where willpower comes in, and this is where resilience comes in. If I'm unable to actually see that it's a symptom on the part of someone else, that it's a deep feeling internally of a lack of attainment and a false perception of me being the impediment towards their attainment, then when that onslaught comes my way, when that punishment comes my way, when that opposition and the sabotage, I might actually unknowingly allow myself to fall into the trap of becoming a victim. And it's very unfortunate. The consequence of that is I might actually start to minimize myself. Might start to make myself small and step away and in a sense hand over my attainment and surrender the things that I very sincerely made an effort for. And it really requires for me to be quite a detached observer of the process so that I don't actually allow myself to fall into that trap. Now, when there's this energy of fight coming towards me, it doesn't mean that I need to respond, or should I say react, with an equal energy of fight. There's so many spiritual ways in which I can actually meet that type of challenge. The one is for me never to lower my self-respect. The other is for me never to actually let go of that deep feeling that I have a right to whatever it is that I have attained, and that I'm still going to continue to take care of this attainment with much care and responsibility. And greater than that, on a spiritual level, this actually requires for me to have a big heart and a merciful heart. Probably the reason for my attainment, like I was saying earlier, was that sincere effort, that sacrifice, the skill, the talent that it might have come naturally, but it's also energy and effort that I invested, and the other person is not aware of all of that. It's not about me being on a mission to prove that I deserve something, but it's me having a big heart and a merciful vision to actually see deep into the vulnerability actually of someone else, not enter into it with pity, but just to appreciate the vulnerability and in a sense share. Not share my attainment, but share the building blocks of my attainment with them in a very diplomatic way. And when I'm sincere about this, life will definitely create wonderful opportunities where in a very natural way, I can, in a sense, share with them the building blocks so that their path actually can be carved as well. At that point, it's left up to the individual to then use the building blocks, but also to put in the sincere effort and the sacrifice so that they can experience the same attainment. And whether that's done or not is not up to me. It's really not up to me. And usually, when someone is experiencing the sacrifice that's required behind the attainment, they actually soften and melt and start to realize that this is not as easy as I thought it was. And obviously, however that person received what they have and however they're maintaining what they have is not a walk in the park. And usually then that soul's behavior towards me changes. And it actually can even become admiration and respect towards me rather than opposition and challenge. This requires patience, none of this is actually going to happen in a day. Even the first thing that I was saying about having that ability to discern and notice traces of jealousy within me, wanting something that someone else has, that also requires patience. Because when I notice it, I need to then will be willing to actually use the law of cause and effect to my advantage. Using the law of cause and effect to my advantage is that as sure as anything, it's guaranteed that if I do put in the time, energy, love, thoughts, feelings, sacrifice, effort sincerely, it might not be the target that my mind is sort of pursuing, but it will be something equivalent and similar. In time, a wonderful opportunity is definitely going to come my way, but I need to have patience and faith in the law of cause and effect. None of us can actually escape the law of cause and effect. And actually, the fundamental healing of the entire concept of jealousy and competition is to really understand the law of cause and effect. Because in understanding the law of cause and effect, I will embrace that everything that I make an effort for will come my way if I am patient, and that everything that has come the way of someone else is because there was some effort that was put in, and then that's the consequence, that's the reward that they are experiencing. And so there's no margin for laziness when it comes to being the conqueror of jealousy and competition, and also to overcome being the victim of jealousy and competition. And this was something very poignant that Dadi Janki, who's now passed on, our great spiritual teacher, used to always, alert us to, that jealousy is actually a form of laziness, because I just passively would like for something to land on my lap. And I want to punish anyone else who has what I have. But whatever it is, my heart's pure desire wants will come my way with the sincerity of that effort. Not allowing myself to become a victim of that sabotage and that punishment because somebody is unhappy or feels that it's injustice, that I have something that they want, is something really deep. I need to actually spur on. I need to spur on regardless of the criticism that comes my way, regardless of the mobbing, regardless of the bullying. Not hand over, not surrender, but in peace with gentleness, with love, but with a lot of inner power. I need to be far-sighted about it. I could just want to give up and say, you know what, it's not worth my while. But giving up is actually what the intention is. And so no need to do that. Be far-sighted and understand that you are well placed. You have what you deserve. It's your right, but hold on with a spiritual approach and be patient and see how time passes and how the energies sort of shift and settle. When there's the spiritual injection, where I'm approaching it with a big heart, I'm benevolent, I'm inward focused, I'm still keeping my attention on what it is that I need to do, and I'm not diverted by these ugly games, the ugly games that my mind might be playing, or the ugly games coming from someone else, then I'm actually really, really infusing the entire situation with extremely pure energy, fresh energy. And this is actually what cleanses the situation, cleanses the atmosphere. Not immediately, I've got to be patient. And at a certain point in time, I can then start to enjoy in a more obstacle-free way the attainments that I deserve. And I can enjoy the experience of having supported someone else and empowered someone else so that they have carved their own path as well. So that's a spiritual take on jealousy and competition. And I know it's a very lively, we can have a very lively discussion about it because everybody in some way or the other has had this experience. We would be very quick to actually be able to complain about the times in which we might have been done down. And it might be a little bit more difficult for us to discern the times in which we actually, are holding that negative vision and negative attitude towards someone else. But it requires humility. And that humility is really beautiful because I'm freeing myself. Actually, I'm freeing my mind from those traps and all that mental energy that's invested in why, what, who, where, when, unfair, wrong, this type of thing. I can then harness that energy and actually focus on the task at hand and grow and build what I have from something small into something large. So all of these are the ways in which I can really then become the master of my own destiny rather than the victim of circumstances. Never feel like someone has the power to take away something that you deserve. According to the law of cause and effect, it's not possible. Even if it has been taken away from you, you don't know what else is in store for you. And I want to close with a very short example because I want to leave time for you to also share. I was away many years ago, over 10 years ago actually, in our branch in New York, the Brahma Kumaris branch in New York, because the Brahma Kumaris is actually an NGO at the United Nations, and we have a little office in the UN complex. And I was lucky enough to be able to serve an internship there. And it was for a period of time, it was for 4 months. And so I needed to get special permission to take time off work. And I actually made arrangements with a couple of individuals for different aspects of my work so that they could, take over in my absence. But the arrangement was that when I returned, then I would obviously slot in. And I was sure to follow up and communicate, not very regularly, not very frequently, but quite regularly. And things, in my opinion, were going fine. And when I got back to South Africa and was preparing to return to work, one of the few individuals that I had temporarily handed over to requested for a meeting. And when I did meet with this individual, I was just informed that they had made arrangements in my absence to take on the work that I had temporarily handed over to them more officially, and that they had got approval. So in a sense, sort of the carpet was pulled out from under my feet, and I was a bit surprised because in our communication whilst I was away, none of this information was shared with me, and apparently it had already been happening for about 2 months, and it was now a new established system. And there was nothing really that I could do to change something that had been going on for 2 months, and it involved many stakeholders. And at that point, I was taken aback. But I remember when I received this information, it was a protection in my mind. The first thought I had is that this is beneath my dignity. I'm not going to fight about this. I'm just not going to fight about this. So anyway, I expressed my disappointment and that meeting ended. And for maybe about a month, half of my work was actually taken away. And my work is such that I earn according to what work I do. So basically, it was half income as well. And about a month later, I was walking in the corridor in my one place of work, and I bumped into a very new colleague who had heard a lot about me whilst I was away, but didn't actually, we didn't have a chance to know each other too well. But in the month whilst I was there, this colleague was sort of observing the work I was doing and also speaking to some of the patients that I've been working with. And so this colleague stopped me and said to me that, you know what, I'm also at one other place and we require the type of services that you offer, but I know that you already committed in two places. So I said to her, actually, I'm not committed in two places anymore. In my absence, the one place that I was committed to, that arrangement sort of fell away. And so I'm actually only here now and I'm doing half work. So she was very happy and she said, so do you have time and space to then come across to this other venue? And I said, yes, sure. And she actually made arrangements, took me in there, introduced me to the management, did everything actually. I just had to literally pitch up and smile in all those meetings. And a whole new branch of my private practice opened without me thinking about it, looking for opportunities, dreaming about it, asking for it or anything. And actually, the opportunity that she created for me was 10 times better than what I had lost in that previous venue. So that's a story just to reassure you that no one can escape the law of cause and effect. It can work to your advantage, actually, but you've got to hold on to your pure intentions and your spiritual approach, but also be very proactive and sincere about the effort that you're putting in, and let time and let your goodness and let your connection with the divine sort of be the factors that work together to protect you and to provide for you. So I'd like to hear from you now. Do you have any questions or do you have any comments or contributions that you'd like to add? You can unmute and share, or you could type it out in the chat. You feel free to decide how you'd like to share. Hello, Mapori.
Oh, okay. This is an important talk. Hey, I feel like you're talking about me every day. So this is an important talk because I want to share like a tiny story about me and my friend. A friend of mine that me and her, we did things together. Like we were like sort of like twins. So we did things together, everything. And then we went into a healing process where I learned that we need to separate from each other, not separate in a like physically, but separate from like detach myself from her.
Yeah.
It was really hard because I'm so used to doing things with her. Even I couldn't realize that because I was in that space, I couldn't realize that there are certain things that I don't actually like to do. And there were certain things that she didn't like to do with me. So after that process of detachment, and we agreed that now everybody will do whatever they want to do and then we will support each other. It was hard. It was hard because I sort of like felt like I'm out of place because I'm so used to having someone that I do things with. And I think after some time, it took long. After some time, I started getting a gist of things now. Um, and I realized that in that moment when it was hard for me, I was jealous when she was doing something that she likes and she was enjoying it and she was passionate. I was jealous because I was like, how can you enjoy that thing without me? Um, yeah, and yeah, and then I would compete. Then I'll get into competing mode now. I want to compete with her and I want to show that I am enjoying what I'm doing. But after some time I realized that I actually need to enjoy what I'm doing, and not for her, not for anybody else, but for me. And
Wonderful. That was a wonderful realization.
yeah, just share that story that it was challenging for me to be able to find a grounding of my own, to be able to do things that I choose and that I compete with anyone to or prove a point, just what I like, without even, doesn't matter if other people can see that I like it or not. I like a particular thing. And thank you for the lesson. I'm
That's
grateful.
great. Your story is so beautiful. You're a humble soul, very humble to have been able to detect the jealousy, but also to have been able to find such a clean and such a pure way of dealing with it, where it was an inward focus. I need to then start to enjoy what I'm doing. I made this choice, and so let me enjoy this. It's a really beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to make a contribution, ask a question? Please feel free.
Okay, this is Lebo.
Hi, Lebo.
Yes, so I'm just going to be very short, just in the interest of time. I am working with a team of people who got retrenched during, COVID times, and I got to be the only person left in the whole department. So during that time when everyone was actually left off, I had to now step into my boss position, who was the head of, she was actually the executive head. And I had to directly report to the COO, and who acknowledged my work and gave me everything, the position that came with, like an office space and all that. And I think at the time I stepped into that position with all the knowledge that I have and all that. Then soon after, my boss told me that, you know what, because of my commitments as a COO, I won't be able to be always available for you. So therefore, I'm going to give somebody else for you to report to. Therefore, I was changed from reporting to him to reporting to another boss. As soon as I started reporting to him, he started stripping off everything that I worked towards to, so that he can actually be the one who's showing whatever that I'm doing. It shouldn't actually be on my name. It took me all away from the office. It took me away from all the other meetings that I used to attend. And that came with a lot of shame when you actually look at it in that perspective. So I had to sit with myself and deeply, deeply, deeply connect with actually, who am I really? Am I this position? Am I this office? Because now all that came with labels, like, you are this position, you are, everyone had actually had that perspective about me. And it happened recently. So that gave me an opportunity to actually stay into my self-respect and connect with my self-respect. Because if I didn't do that, my self-respect was going to actually be according to what other people are saying. Who am I really? This position, this office, and all that. So that helped a lot, because it connected. I had to connect with, the who I am as a soul, so that I can actually be able to give love to the other, to this person that I'm directly working with. And by doing so, I think you also connected to that love, because gradually, things changed. Now we are working together so well. Thank you so much.
That is such a brilliant story, Lebo. You used purity, you used clarity, you used your self-respect, you used love to deal with the situation. They could have been so many other ways in which you dealt with it, meaning fight fire with fire, but you chose not to. And the outcome is that you won the soul over. And now you're actually in collaboration and cooperating with each other. And I'm sure it must have been quite painful, initially, when you encountered this, and very shocking. But you were able to actually go above and beyond those limited emotions. And you kept on in your story using this word connect, connect, connect. And look at the outcome. I think this is so inspiring, even for our group to hear. And congratulations. This is a perfect example of spirituality in action. It's fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so just checking to see, is there anyone else that would like to ask a question or share a story? Please feel free. We can take one more. Maybe I can bring Sister Usha in then. Sister Usha, in 1 or 2 minutes, is there anything that you would like to add?
Good morning, thanks. I was just thinking from Lebo's story, the virtue you brought out was purity. And definitely there's a big connection between jealousy and purity. Because if you think about when I'm in my original pure self, then there's no taintingness of anyone. And so sometimes in my life, if I take a little bit of inspiration or support from a title, a position, or whatever, and I, in a way, taint my own identification, then I actually fall to prey, instead of using the word victim, fall to prey to the fact that I'm going to be stirring up the ego in somebody, or I'm going to kind of, it creates almost like a very unsavory environment, because it's actually my own platform. So, they say that when I am very pure, actually nothing will touch me. So other people's energy of being competitive or feeling that I have too much won't come, because the pure energy will keep things innocent and sweet. So I love that whole story, that it really amplifies that I can do something to avoid jealousy from others by keeping things very pure and simple inside of myself. So it's almost like we can protect ourselves, with the keeping the right energy. And the last thing also is that, when Mapore spoke, you said to her that she's a humble soul. And so even humility is a very powerful, in a way, shield to protect me from jealousy of others and competition. Because ego is something that is like a button we press. And so if I'm operating from my own ego, I'm definitely going to be touching buttons of other people. So it's a nice way to see that if I want to avoid these things happening to me, how if I do the inner work of keeping myself humble, being pure, staying in myself, because your story also was a very good example, that why fight back? Let me stay in my own self-respect. So I just wanted to summarize that how the self-work that we're doing, keeping our relationship with ourselves very clear and authentic, keeping the company of the divine with us, then we don't have to worry how other people are perceiving things. And we'll also be protected from that kind of negative influence from others.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so If we don't have any more comments, questions, or contributions, then maybe we can enter into our meditation now.
Thank you.
Who am I? Much deeper than this physical body. The appearance of the body. The things that belong to this body, be it clothing, gadgets, a vehicle, property, fittings, furnishings, much deeper than all of the possessions of the body, much deeper than the title and position of this body, be it the job I do, or my job search, the rank I hold, much deeper than the relationships of this body, whomever it is within my sphere that I'm deeply connected to, much deeper than all of these external compartments. I exist as a self-contained, brilliant, shining star of pure light energy. Spiritual power. And so who is this beautiful star? Much deeper than all of those external labels and descriptions. I originally and eternally am a being of immense beauty, immense power. The beauty of love, peace, joy, the greatness of pure non-violent inner power. Truth, wisdom, These inner treasures are what I define myself by. They become my protectors and my providers. They gently transport me away from all the games and all the struggles of the outer world. Because I've set my sights and I've shifted my compass inward. These inner treasures become my weapons, my non-violent weapons. As much as I deeply stay connected to this truth within me, as much as I maintain my focus of expressing these treasures in everything I think, everything I say, and everything I do, victory will always be guaranteed for me. I will be able to attain everything that is rightfully mine. My heart will remain open, overflowing, and big, able to embrace, able to transform any source of negative energy. With humility, with purity, and with patience, I allow the law of cause and effect to roll out and serve me, bringing towards me my rightful attainment. In this way, I'm forever peaceful. I'm forever content. Life is beautiful. I continue to give, hands open and outstretched, heart open. And I enjoy. Om Shanti. Thank you. And over to you, Brother Dorito.
So, thank you very much, Sister Devendra, Sister Usha, Brother Go, and everyone else. So, hope to see all of you tomorrow. Thank you very much.